I can't speak for what it would be like to be you or to be your family, but I can speak for what it's like to be your friend. And I have not enjoyed this. I got to admit, I've been struggling to make this video, or at least something like it now, for several days because it concerns a really good friend of mine, a friend of the program, someone who has inspired me, someone who has motivated me, someone who has encouraged me, someone who has helped me along the way, someone that I look to sometimes when I need within myself a little bit more courage, a little bit more motivation, a little bit more of that warrior attitude. This person is someone I've constantly looked to find that level of inspiration. And of course, most of you have already heard by now and assume I'm talking about Baily Craig. Baily has been a wonderful part of my life now for a number of years. She is someone that after my transplant, we kind of connected, I think, over Facebook or maybe through this channel, whatever. I don't know exactly how that came about, but we kind of connected then. And I started to watch her story, to be a witness to some of the things that she was dealing with at the time. And Baily was in terrible need for a double lung transplant. But her wait time had been horrible. Not that everything had been bad about it. I'm not saying that, but the length of time that she had to wait was just terrible. It was not months. It was years. It was many years. And I know to some extent it must have felt like to Baily that maybe that day was never going to come. You know, there were a few times, I guess, maybe when she felt like there was some encouraging signs and maybe the time was right. I can remember when I was waiting for a heart transplant, I was advised by my team, and it's a sad case, but, you know, oftentimes around holidays when there's a lot of travel going on, or, you know, say 4th of July when there's a lot of people in and around the water doing some things that sometimes accidents happen and organs become available. And that's horrible to say, but you know, there's just those seasons and those periods when you think, well, if it's going to come, it's going to come now. And Baily went through a lot of that. I certainly did. And after all those years, I could just hear within her voice when we would talk back and forth. We would message, or sometimes she would call or whatever. I could tell that she was really struggling with wanting to know if that were ever going to happen. And so at some point in time, and I don't mean to exactly tell you what Baily was thinking, because I can't. I'm not her. So Baily, I'm not you. But at one point in time, Baily had gotten to a place in her life in waiting for that double lung transplant that didn't seem it was going to come, until she decided, you know what, I'm just going to have to live life. For whatever I'm able to do, I can carry my oxygen along with me, and I'll just have to live life the best I can. And she had left her home in Arkansas and gone up, I believe it was up to Huntsville. I think it was Huntsville. And was staying with some friends, and they were eventually going to be going on a vacation. That was what was supposed to happen. As a matter of fact, I think the vacation was like the day that what I'm about to tell you happened. She was up there anyway. And like I say, I can only assume was there just to say, I got to get away. I got to have a break. I've got to take my mind off of what's not happening and just enjoy what is happening. And so Baily was about to go on that trip. And I got a message early that morning, and I was really excited. The message basically said, hey, Jim, I got the call. You know, I'm up here and my friends and some away from home, but we're about to be headed down to UAB. I got the call. Hadn't told anybody yet, but I got the call. And that right then, even though Baily and I had connected on several other levels before, that kind of made me feel like a real part of her life. And so Baily, I appreciate that. And it made me feel good. It made me feel as if I had kind of made it inside that inner circle. And I tried to be an encouragement to her. I tried to be someone who showed the positive side of transplant as often as I could. But I was so thrilled. I mean, absolutely boiling with excitement that Baily had gotten that call. And so I remember she headed down toward UAB, and her family was coming, and they met, and, you know, all that happens. And I can literally remember staying up, not just through the day, but maybe even through the night, you know, just waiting to hear the news that was coming out. You know, she's been taken to surgery. She's in surgery. She's doing well, and all the information that I could get. And I was messaging everybody I knew that had the same last name or a similar name to her, anybody I knew that was a friend of the family, and trying to get in touch. And I kept getting those pieces of information. And finally, I got information that it did take place. She got the transplant, and I began to follow her journey, and I began to make several videos, shout out videos, I call them. Okay, here it is. After 1,721 days, that is 4.715 years, our friend, supporter, encourager, total inspiration to so many of us, especially me and countless of thousands of others, Baily Craig is finally headed in the OR to receive the wonderful gift of life via a double lung transplant. You know, encouraging Baily and cheering for her and letting her know I'm praying for her and such. And she met with some very, very hard, very, very difficult challenges during that period of time. Of course, the transplant took place, but sometimes there are events, there are things that happen, complications that are beyond the control of many or any. And Baily had a lot of those, from her kidneys not working properly, which is oftentimes typical, to her actually having a brain injury, a traumatic brain injury as a result of the surgery and coming out of it, and laying there for a long period of time, you know, unable to communicate, unable to talk, unable to get up, unable to do much. And she had problems that came as a result of that even later, that she lost some of her toes and had some difficulty with both her hands or feet. And, you know, there's just a lot that came in, a lot of problems that arose. And I can remember so many nights and days, for that matter, just praying fervently for Baily that something would come out that would be positive. Because at that point, I'm only sympathizing. I'm thinking to myself, you wait all these years for this wonderful gift that's just supposed to work, and it's not working. Something's not working out. And there was a lot of times when I was afraid, I know she was and her family afraid that she wouldn't overcome these obstacles. But she did. And I remember going over to visit her many times in the hospital when she was still in the CICU unit, so the critical cardiac / pulmonary intensive care. And I remember going over to visit her many times, and she may or may not have been aware I was there every time, but I would go in and speak with her father or mother, whoever was there at her bedside. And I remember being there one day when she had held up, or they had held up a sign or something like that, and she was able to read.
Here's what Baily has to read. Baily just started reading this evening with the help of her nurse, Caitlin. Baily, what's that say?
I love you.
Oh my goodness. Yay. Thank you, Jesus. Praise the Lord.
It's so awesome. Oh my word. Baily, I'm so proud. Oh my word.
And you could tell that she was coming back. You know, the Baily that they love was coming back. Now, she was struggling. Getting her words was difficult, and processing, especially verbalizing things, seemed almost impossible. It was a tremendous task, a mountain climb for her, but she did that. And then she was able to get up and walk again. And that was a slow go, and it was a lot of difficult. She had to relearn almost everything about herself. And
great, Baily. Almost there, man. Girl, you got this.
Come on, Baily.
Almost there. You're almost there. Can you get that strip on the ground? Baby. Baily, we're almost there. 3, 2, 1. Yes. Girl, you got this. Baily, you did it.
Good job, sister. That's a 100-foot hallway.
it was a lot of difficult. She had to relearn almost everything about herself and relearn how to do the basics. But Baily is such a warrior, just such a warrior, till Baily was able to do something that I'm not sure I could have done. You know, sometimes I may come across as, I'm not bragging, please understand I'm not bragging, but, you know, when I speak of my transplant process and recovery comparative to someone like Baily, mine was so easy. I mean, I was sitting in a chair in just a few minutes and up walking the next morning, and a lot of that Baily had none of those opportunities. But to see what you were able to go through, Baily, to see the courage, the strength, the the inner you that had to come out. I don't know if that was from your competitive nature and horseback riding and rodeo type stuff, but for something about you in your life coming up, you had prepared for this apparently, because she overcame obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And so I've had many conversations with Baily throughout the years, via the phone. Sometimes she would call or message or text. And a lot of times messaging at one point was a little bit easier because she could, when she was having difficulty speaking and processing, she could take time to send, we all do that. But she fought through much of that. And although I wouldn't say she ever had a really easy time after transplant, things were certainly better. And again, she was ready for the challenge. And so Baily, a few years ago, that all came to place. And then, most recently, she started to get a sense that something wasn't right. And so she came into her transplant team over at UAB, and a couple other things happened in the intermediate. I'm not trying to tell every detail, but she comes in and they do some tests, some measurements, some procedures, and come away with understanding that she was going to eventually, at that time it would be eventually, need another double lung transplant, so a second transplant. And I'm sure that that wasn't an easy pill to swallow. I can only imagine what that would sound like, to go this far, to wait this long, to have these difficulties, these challenges, and then to finally get to a place where things were beginning to move a little more smoothly, and then to get that news. I can't even imagine that. But Baily, your warrior attitude, steps out again. And so she gets with UAB, and I don't know how the conversation went, but they basically said, we're not going to be able to list you here. We can't deal with the case, so complicated, whatever. They communicated anyway. And I know how frustrating that must have been. The people that were there for you at one point, and now it seemed like they've thrown out the towel. They've given up. I don't know how that felt. But from looking in on the outside, I've been angry about that. And I know not everyone can do everything. And I know different transplant centers have different capabilities. But I look at UAB and think, you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to be all of our heroes. If you're there for us for one moment, you need to be there for us for a lifetime. But I don't know the ins and outs, but that wasn't happening. So she eventually, through their recommendation and her investigation, Baily goes to a ton of different centers all over the country, really, and basically begs for an evaluation, begs to be, put on the list for transplant again. And I know that's not something that she or her family wanted to have to endure. You just want things to just take a turn and to get better. They weren't doing that. And time again, she was turned away. And the struggle, Baily, I can't even imagine the struggle that you've had. I can't even begin to imagine what you must be going through, to the core of yourself. But what I see as a warrior, again, I can't stop using that word. I see someone who inspires me and others, and you just kept pressing on, and you've come and gone several times to your appointments over here, and I see you come over. The news is not good. You go back home. Like, hey, I'll just go back home then. I'll just keep trying. I'll keep begging. I don't know, but Baily, I've prayed for you so many times. Much of it for your own benefit, but a lot of it just out of me being selfish. I've got a ton of friends in the transplant community, a ton, hundreds, maybe thousands, you might claim, that people I've interacted with on this kind of a personal level, but only a handful have impacted me like you have, Baily. And so watching you go through this has been painful. I can't speak for what it would be like to be you or to be your family, but I can speak for what it's like to be your friend. And I have not enjoyed this. So Baily goes in maybe a week or so ago to UAB, not expecting them to put her on a transplant list or anything like that, but she goes in for her regular checkups. You got to keep on with that. You got to do that. And UAB overall is good to all of us. I mean, really, they're there for us to some point, and they're good at what they do. But they wanted to put her in the hospital and do some procedures and, some things to her that she had, I guess, already endured before that didn't work, that are not fun, that are not easy. And Baily and her family, and I don't know how many involved, came together and decided that she wasn't going to do it anymore. Not that. And so Baily has made the choice, and many of you have seen this. She's made the choice to go home and to be assisted by hospice care and to enjoy the life that she has. And I understand that. I can't comprehend having to do that, but I do understand that. And I sympathize and I empathize with where you have to be in life to do that, Baily. And just another moment where you inspire me. And I appreciated the fact that I was included in that, not to make the decision, but I received a text the other day from Baily, and she told me what was happening and told me what would be happening with the hospice. And she sent it to me, and she said, "Now don't say anything yet because we haven't told everyone, and we're only letting a few family and friends know right now, and it wasn't public." And I was sitting right here at my computer that evening and working on some things, and my phone was right over here beside me. It's on a charger right there, and I saw the notification from Baily, and I look forward to those. And I said, "Oh, Baily," and I grabbed my phone, and how you get a partial message on the front, before you even open the app. And when I saw what I saw, it took my breath. It just absolutely took my breath away. And of course, I opened it and I read it, and I paused and I can't talk now. Contemplated what to say, and I didn't have anything to say except for I'm proud. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to call you friend. I'm thrilled to have had so much of an opportunity to get to know you. And yeah, we hadn't spent a lot of personal time together. We got a few selfie shots from clinic and things like that. And I have spent a many a day standing at the foot of your hospital bed, like whether you knew it or not. But you're a part of our community. You're part of me and my friends and my family. And so, Baily, you absolutely have my prayers. And whatever the future holds, and we don't hold it ourselves, God does, but whatever the future holds for you, I want it to be the best. I want it to be all it can be. And I'm thankful for what it already is. You could see that as being negative on one side, yes, but positive. I'm thankful for what it is. I'm thankful for the years that your life has been extended, and the years that you have chosen to share yourself with others, with me. It's been a blessing, and it will continue to be a blessing. I don't give up. You don't give up, and it'll continue to be a blessing, I know. And I just want you to know I'm here. The whole community's here. And there's not anything better I can do than pray for you, and I will, and I have, and what a blessing. Just what a blessing. So, Baily, thank you. Thank you for the KOKO, the keep on keeping on that you have. Thank you for your ability to stay stronger and to look for hope, even if it's just a glimmer in the distance, to look for hope, to look for reason. Thank you for that. And so Baily has announced it publicly. It's on Team Baily. It's her personal page, and she/the family has posted her post office box publicly. I'll put it on the screen for some time. and even again at the end and in the description below. And I would love more than anything to you to support Baily. Send her cards, send her gifts, send her whatever. Overwhelm her with the acts of kindness and love that we can, and show her that we support her in every decision, in everything, in every moment, in every breath of her life. And oh, those breaths are so precious. Thank you, Baily. I love you for who you are and for what you do. Thank you.